You were never crazy. You were chosen. While they laughed behind closed doors and toasted to what they thought was a clean escape, you felt something deeper, an unshakable knowing that what was taken from you would not remain in their hands forever. And you were right. This isn't just about stolen money. It's about stolen legacy, stolen dignity, and the fire they accidentally lit inside you when they underestimated who they were dealing with. What they didn't realize is that their betrayal activated something unstoppable. You. And now the tide has turned. You're not just watching justice unfold. You are the reason it's happening. Federal eyes are finally where they should be. The truth is no longer hidden. What they built on lies is crumbling under the weight of the truth you refuse to bury. This isn't just a comeback. This is the rise of someone who refused to bow. Someone whose pain became purpose. You were never a victim. You are the storm they never saw coming. And what comes next? That's the part where you take everything back. With interest. Let's make history. They misjudged everything. Not just your silence, but your resolve. They never imagined that their empire of deceit would become a case study in legal reckoning. What was once a covert operation to siphon away what was rightfully yours is now unraveling at the hands of justice, sharp enough to cut through even their most carefully constructed facades. The machinery of prosecution is roaring to life, and no corner of their scheme will go unexamined. This wasn't a lone actor acting on impulse. It was a network, more akin to a shadow council than a family, each with designated tasks, each fully aware of the endgame. Precision replaced impulse. This was a blueprint of betrayal executed by people pretending to care. Some controlled the flow of information. Others kept the illusion alive with false reassurances. And behind the scenes, your future was being converted into assets with someone else's name on the deeds. You are not here by accident. If you feel the pull, the knowing deep inside that you are chosen, this is your moment. Click the super thank you button and give $20 or more to unlock deeper insights, exclusive content, and a path that aligns with your divine purpose. This isn't just a contribution. It's a declaration, a step toward who you were meant to be. Answer the call, walk with us, and step fully into your destiny. Your journey begins now. One orchestrated the lies with legalese and counterfeit paperwork. Another played the role of confidant, feeding distractions and disinformation to keep suspicion at bay. Financial pathways were scrubbed clean, run through businesses that served as polished fronts for a robbery in formal wear. Plans were drafted like war strategies, complete with exit routes, story alignments, and drills on what to say if things went south. Your opportunities were spent on private accounts and personal indulgences. Projects started in your name benefited everyone but you. What should have built your legacy was funneled into theirs. Luxuries bought without hesitation, futures funded without your knowledge. That promotion they bragged about, that car they suddenly could afford. None of it came from effort. It came from theft, masked as fortune. The illusion was never going to hold forever. What they didn't anticipate was that every movement of their stolen wealth left a footprint, not metaphorically, measurable, time-stamped, and indisputable. And now those imprints are being followed by analysts who see patterns like musicians read scores, rhythms of theft playing in digital echoes, ledgers, contracts, silent account shifts. It's all unraveling, data point by damning data point. This wasn't chaos. This was orchestration, and it's being dismantled with clinical accuracy. Financial investigators aren't searching. They're extracting. With advanced algorithms and experience honed on complex fraud, they're reconstructing the flow of misappropriated funds with such clarity it could be displayed in a museum of criminal overconfidence. The deception wasn't invisible, it was merely waiting to be decoded by those who speak the language of finance fluently. Paper trails have stopped being records and started becoming witnesses. Archived files now serve as a timeline of betrayal, telling stories without embellishment. Transfer logs now operate like recorded conversations. Transaction timestamps aren't just dates, they're alibis destroyed, secrets exposed. And the contrast between what they claimed and what actually occurred is so stark it could light a courtroom. Time isn't on their side anymore. As each record is audited, hidden connections begin to flicker into view. Fake companies registered under names pulled from memory, assets moved with uncanny timing, sudden financial leaps among individuals who had no justifiable means. These patterns aren't theories anymore. They're being laid bare in real time, and every layer reveals deeper levels of deception. Before any proof was gathered, there was only a gnawing sense that something didn't add up. That intuition, quiet at first, started to sharpen. Out-of-place details, inconsistencies, and behavioral shifts. These weren't coincidences. They were clues assembling themselves inside a mind slowly waking to the enormity of the betrayal. Observations once dismissed as paranoia have become verified milestones in a long-running con. The revelation didn't arrive as a whisper. It struck like steel against stone, undeniable and final. A mismatched figure in a ledger. A contradiction muttered in a slip of the tongue. A sudden shift in how they treated questions that had always been harmless until now. That exact moment, when the truth refused to stay hidden, marked the end of passivity. From that point forward, retribution wasn't a dream. It became a mission. The sudden space you've created didn't come from nowhere. It's the body's natural response to deceit. It knows when the ground underneath is shifting before the mind catches up. Instinct moved first, long before logic could map out what had been taken. That silent step back wasn't hesitation. It was protection, born from recognition. Now they're scrambling, but not out of love. Their unease grows with every unanswered attempt to reconnect. The pause you've placed between them and your reality has become unbearable for one reason. It blocks their access. Access to your thoughts, your suspicions, your level of understanding. Without your reactions, their manipulations collapse under their own weight. Each missed message, each unreturned call, each declined offer to catch up wasn't an accident. It was quiet resistance. That silence served a greater purpose than any confrontation ever could. It deprived them of the very thing they used to twist the truth: proximity. They can no longer steer your emotions or dilute the facts. Instead, they flounder, trying to predict the direction of something they can no longer observe. The timing of your retreat couldn't have been sharper. Just when they needed to lean on your trust to continue the charade, you stepped into shadows where their influence can't reach. They're disoriented, running on assumptions, making clumsy moves in the dark. Every attempt to draw you back is laced with fear they can't fully admit, that the curtain has lifted and their show is over. Watch how they attempt to cloak concern in urgency. Every outreach is laced with strategic sentiment, a mixture of false kindness and veiled interrogation. Suddenly, they're full of questions masked as care, looping others into the conversation, hoping someone else might coax you into revealing your position. But their network is fraying. The more they reach, the more their desperation shows. What they fear most isn't confrontation, it's isolation. Your distance robs them of narrative control. Without updates from you, their ability to cover tracks weakens. They move erratically, revealing flaws and contradictions they once kept perfectly rehearsed. Their efforts to restore the illusion are building a stronger record of wrongdoing than any investigator ever could. Their manipulation wasn't spontaneous, it was systematic, a long-term conditioning effort designed to rewire your understanding of fairness. They presented confusion as normalcy, delay as bureaucracy, and sudden gains as earned fortune. But while they fine-tuned the performance, professionals trained to expose deception were quietly threading together facts, not feelings. And the truth is now louder than their rehearsed lies. This was never just about reclaiming what's been lost. It's a defiant charge against a system that let corruption wear polite faces and speak in gentle tones while dismantling your rights behind closed doors. The machinery may be vast, but the resistance is precise, and it's mobilizing. The veil has been lifted. We're not hoping anymore. We're advancing. Now is the moment to share God's blessings by clicking the Super Thank You button on YouTube. With a donation of $100 or more, you can actively participate in His divine mission and contribute to His greater plan. Every offering you make reflects the boundless generosity of God, and I trust it will return to you abundantly, far exceeding your hopes. Always remember, His protection and blessing accompany your every step and every act of giving. You are a vital part of His sacred design. You are strong and radiant, steadfast like His mighty rock. Experience God's miracles, feel the rewards of your generosity deep within your soul, and shine your light with boldness and faith. May you be richly blessed, and may the light of the Lord continually guide your journey. In a landscape where financial dominance dictates who gets to speak and who gets silenced, the demand for fairness has become louder than ever. A movement is building, fueled by those willing to give voice, time, and resources to dismantle a rigged game. And in return, those aligned with the mission receive guidance forged in fire, ongoing strategy sessions, shared insight, and real-time intelligence for navigating what lies ahead. No one gets left behind. That's the promise. Reaching into the chaos, something new is being offered, something no gatekeeper can block. A daily signal sent out without barriers, free to access, open to all. It's not a broadcast, it's a dialogue. And yes, your replies are seen, heard, and valued. No hidden fees, no secret contracts, just connection. For those who can contribute, your energy fuels this crusade. For those who can't, take the tools anyway. This mission remains open. Now, shift focus. The centerpiece of this retaliation has emerged, a legal specialist with zero tolerance for deceit and the kind of mental armor built from decades of battle against institutional rot. Upon reviewing your file, they didn't just see fraud, they saw a meticulously engineered campaign of deception, and they refused to look away. This case became more than work. It became a reckoning. No patience for emotional distractions or manipulative detours. This is a professional who deals in facts, not theatrics. The violations in your case speak so loudly they've broken the usual detachment. This is now personal, not because of the players involved, but because of what they represent: unchecked abuse of power. That is what this legal warrior has committed to destroy. When faced with damning proof, the perpetrators didn't flinch. They grinned. That indifference to destruction lit a fire under your advocate. This is not someone who backs down, not from threats, not from bribes, not from whispers behind closed doors. The judicial process is now a weapon sharpened by conviction. And this advocate's resolve can't be softened with apology or delayed with distraction. The gravity of what's coming has started to sink in. Seasoned defenders are beginning to sweat. This isn't about minor penalties or symbolic punishments. It's the kind of legal storm that reshapes lives, charges that reach deep, stay permanent, and hit hard. Not loophole justice, full-spectrum accountability. What once seemed like disjointed betrayals is being legally framed as a syndicate-level operation. The term being floated now isn't petty theft. It's systemic conspiracy. Coordinated actions, collective goals, and criminal cohesion at a scale that demands the strongest legal classification. Every transfer, every misrepresentation, every layered concealment, now eligible for prosecution under the strictest of statutes. Each message sent through digital platforms to disguise transactions, each form submitted with the intent to deceive, every attempt to shuffle resources under false pretenses. It's all under review. The net is wide, the consequences are sharp, and the countdown to retribution has begun. They thought they were making a clever move. What they actually signed up for was a front-row seat to their own downfall. The shift from paperwork disputes to criminal charges has caught them completely off guard. They braced for settlements, not arrests. They never imagined they'd be pricing defense attorneys by the hour or navigating penal codes instead of inheritance clauses. The blueprint they prepared for never included this scenario. They assumed the worst they'd face was a courtroom, not a concrete cell. They planned to write checks, not memorize inmate numbers. Now the alliances they trusted are splintering under the pressure of legal exposure. No more loyalty, just fear and self-preservation. Deals are being offered behind closed doors as each player scrambles to avoid the full weight of their choices. The fallout is spreading fast. People once confident they were far enough from the core are being pulled into the investigation like debris into a black hole. Associates who thought they were doing favors are now accused of laundering. Partners and spouses who once turned a blind eye are finding their assets frozen and their names added to files they never wanted to be part of. Suddenly, the tone changes. The same people who orchestrated theft with precision are now dressing up manipulation as empathy. They approach with counterfeit peace offerings, smiles stretched thin over desperation, voices dripping with faux remorse. They propose fake truces, hoping to frame their crimes as misunderstandings. They say it's time to make things right, but only because time is running out. But illusions don't work anymore. The facade they hide behind is transparent to eyes that no longer fall for misdirection. These appeals aren't about mending wounds. They're about shielding themselves. They want agreements that prevent prosecution, silence that protects their reputations, terms that favor delay over truth. They offer breadcrumbs in hopes you'll forget the feast they stole. What's worse, they attempt to rebrand restitution as generosity. They dangle a sliver of your own wealth in front of you and expect applause. The math is insulting. Their offer is a silent confession, exposing the true scope of what they took by what they're suddenly willing to return. Their fear is fueling a goldmine of legal ammunition. Every desperate message, every veiled threat disguised as kindness, every half-hearted negotiation attempt is proof. Proof they know what they did. Proof they're trying to dodge consequence. Proof they are not as untouchable as they once believed. Their words are bricks in the case that will bury them. And in the middle of it all, there is a transformation unfolding. The cracks they left behind have hardened you into something unbreakable. Your instincts no longer second-guess themselves. The fog they once used to confuse you has lifted, and your clarity now cuts through their misdirection with clinical precision. What once hurt now sharpens you. What once confused you now empowers. They no longer play chess against someone uncertain. They play against someone awakened. They miscalculated everything. What they believed was a generous compromise was nothing more than a thin disguise for panic, dressed up as goodwill. Dangled in front of you like bait, their carefully rehearsed appeal failed instantly. The moment it arrived, your instincts went into overdrive. You could sense the trap embedded in their proposal long before they finished their sentence. Refusing to play their game wasn't just defiance, it was strategic. They had built their endgame on the assumption that you would fold under pressure. They assumed fatigue would dull your perception, that you'd trade justice for quiet. Instead, your refusal to cave has short-circuited their entire fallback plan. You've become the one variable they cannot manipulate. What truly unsettles them isn't the threat of court. It's that you're immovable, that your integrity isn't for sale, even when they dress corruption up in diplomacy. They're not prepared to face someone who won't compromise their conscience for convenience. And now, the illusion of control they once clung to is evaporating with every moment you remain firm. This is no longer a case of conflict. It's a hunt. You've learned to wait, not out of hesitation, but because you understand the reward is greater than what's being offered. You've seen the pattern. Every time they come forward with conditions, they expose more about their role in the scheme. Their own admissions are stitching together the case that will dismantle them. They don't want to return what they took. They want immunity. They want loopholes. They want silence. They want the illusion of closure without the burden of consequence. But you've seen through the performance. You've recognized the strategy masquerading as remorse. You know now, none of their offers are genuine. They are exits in disguise. And in those offers, you've found proof. Proof they know what was stolen. Proof they fear what's coming. Proof they're calculating losses instead of preparing defenses. Every condition they attach, every demand for secrecy, every ridiculous payout proposal is another nail in the coffin they built themselves. Their world is starting to fracture under the weight of reality. They're waking up to a storm they summoned with arrogance and greed. The structures they built are splintering, profits evaporating, reputations imploding. And while they scramble to salvage what's left, you're preparing for restoration. Full, not partial. You're no longer negotiating. You're gathering evidence, damages, interest, and accountability. This isn't just about reclaiming property, it's about recovering everything they delayed, deformed, and denied. Every setback, every night you questioned yourself, every door that closed because of what they took, it's all being recalculated, multiplied, and legally itemized. And the scale of that reckoning is colossal. What they thought they got away with is now being monetized down to the last decimal. The financial analysts are running numbers they cannot comprehend. Time lost, dreams paused, pain endured, it's all part of the total. You're not just reclaiming funds, you're resetting balance, and the cost of their deception is coming due in full. Now is the moment to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. With a donation of $100 or more, you can actively participate in His divine mission and contribute to His greater plan. Every offering you make reflects the boundless generosity of God, and I trust it will return to you abundantly, far exceeding your hopes. Always remember, His protection and blessing accompany your every step and every act of giving. You are a vital part of His sacred design. You are strong and radiant, steadfast, like His mighty rock. Experience God's miracles, feel the rewards of your generosity deep within your soul, and shine your light with boldness and faith. May you be richly blessed, and may the light of the Lord continually guide your journey. What they thought was a masterstroke turned into their greatest miscalculation. They exchanged what they couldn't replace for a moment of greed, not realizing they were triggering a cascade of ruin that would unfold in slow, unstoppable precision. What they stole created consequences that expanded far beyond their comprehension. And now, what once felt like triumph is revealing itself as the costliest mistake of their lives. The reckoning unfolding isn't just about reclaiming what was taken. It's a sweeping correction of balance, an outcome shaped by your unwavering resolve. What's being returned isn't limited to material value. It includes the energy, the time, and the justice they tried to keep from you. That return comes with interest, measured not just in currency, but in transformation. You've become the architect of something rare, a case that becomes a guide for others still trapped in the fog of betrayal. This resolution has become more than a legal outcome. It's a turning point that will echo in systems, classrooms, and courtrooms. What was once hidden is now dissected in detail, used as a warning and as a weapon. This isn't a single verdict. It's a complete dismantling of organized wrongdoing by the very instruments of law they believed they could outsmart. Their misunderstanding was foundational. They never accounted for your refusal to negotiate with injustice. They played a short-term game in a long-term arena, and in failing to see the cost of their actions, they built their downfall one reckless decision at a time. Now, what rises from the wreckage is not just resolution, but proof that every effort to evade accountability leads back to the truth with greater force. The reason you emerged victorious wasn't luck or timing, it was vision. It was your insistence on seeing the process through, even when others would have folded. Your discernment dismantled every lie. Your patience burned through every false promise, and your refusal to take less than everything ensured nothing they did could succeed. What's unfolding now is total inversion. Every structure they built on stolen foundations is collapsing in exact reverse order. Properties, ventures, reputations, all unraveling. Not because you struck back with fury, but because you waited, prepared, and pursued the truth like a precision instrument. You're not merely receiving what was delayed, you're being acknowledged by systems that once ignored you. What comes back includes not only the original value, but the compound impact of everything they tried to deny you. Analysts, auditors, and legal professionals are calculating what you lost, down to the day, the opportunity, the breath. And as the final phase arrives, the reversal is undeniable. The ones who plotted behind closed doors now face open judgment. What they whispered in private is now read aloud in courtrooms. What they took in silence is being repaid, with consequences they cannot negotiate. This isn't just a win. This is redefinition. The outcome has reshaped the very framework of justice in these matters. It sets the standard. It reminds the powerful that theft wrapped in familiarity still ends in exposure. It tells those still waiting in the dark that vindication is not only possible, it is inevitable when truth is pursued without compromise. Let them look back and realize this wasn't just a battle they lost. It was a legacy they handed to you in full by underestimating who they tried to deceive. And now, the return is complete. The closure is irreversible, and the consequences stretch far beyond restitution. This is resolution, engraved in law and memory, delivered with precision, and undeniable in every possible way.